Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Project Oathmark / Dragon Rampant. And this is part B, where I'm going to look at Dragon Rampant. A little flip through the book and give you some of my thoughts on it. I've already looked at Oathmark. You can watch that in another video, and then the next video I will compare and contrast the two. And once again, these are all my personal opinions. You might have different ones. If you do differ or you do agree, please leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this game. All right, so this is Dragon Rampant. It's one of the Osprey Wargames blue books. It's number 13 in the series. And this is written by Daniel Mercy. Now, Daniel Mercy also wrote Lion Rampant, which this book fantasizes. You take the historical Lion Rampant and you just add all the fantasy elements that you can, change some of the concepts, and you've got Dragon Rampant. Now, if you know this Rampant series, it continues in Pikeman's Lament, Men Who Would Be Kings, and Rebels and Patriots. And there are a number of offshoots, like unofficial variants and variants you'll find in, I think it's Wargames Illustrated magazine, but generally these blue books are small, affordable, and personally, I love these. I have quite a number of them. I have, I think it's about 10 of them. I've got some expansions for some of them. I think they are a fantastic series of books, and the rules are very light, and you're often encouraged to take these rules and go with them in your own direction. If your models require a certain change or your play style, you know what? Do it. Go ahead. Have fun. The idea is that these are a base set of rules that you can do with what you wish. Now, not everyone loves that. People loves it. Not everyone loves that. Not everyone? Yeah, not everyone loves that. People might want a book like this that's big and hefty. It's got all the rules and boom, you don't need anything else. But you know what? Sometimes the fun is taking a fun little rule book like this and making it your own. Now, I'm not saying you have to change all the rules. I'm just saying sometimes there's a tweak here and there that you know, might be required by your gameplay or your you know, who you're playing with, your gaming group, what have you. But anyway, let's take a little look at Dragon Rampant by Daniel Mercy. So it's there are 64 pages in the book, very small, and we can get right into what you'll need to play. Well, you'll need this book and your imagination. Boom, there it is. And I think this right here really sums up what's great about this game. It says, be creative with troop types. Why ride a horse when you could ride a giant chicken? And I think that is so important. This game allows you to use pretty much anything you've got. You've been collecting fantasy models in 28mm for years. Well, guess what? You can use everything in your collection in this game. You've been doing it in 15mm? Hey, you know what? Boom. The idea is that models are individually based, but it does talk about multiple based models. So in this case, you have 3 large wolves, but you might have 6 smaller wolves on 2 different bases. That's fine. Both of those work because the rules allow that, because they're so you know, they're fluid and they're very not forgiving in like let you make a lot of mistakes, or they're not really deeply thought about. They are, and I think a lot of thought did go into this game and in making it available to whatever you've got. This talks about the basing. You might have 20mm squares or 25mm rounds. Hey, whatever you've got, make it work. And I think again, that is super important. And what really helps in this game is that each unit has strength points, and strength points are kind of like the health points. And you're either going to have 6 strength points or 12 strength points, depending on the unit. And in other games, that might mean you need to have 6, say, cavalry or 12 infantry. But in this game, we talk about single or reduced model units. So you might have one giant that might have 6 or, hey, even 12 strength points, whereas you might have some wolves that all 3 wolves have 6 strength points in the unit, so each of them is worth 2. So you'll have to do a little bit of bookkeeping in that if one takes a hit, you can mark it, but once it's taken 2 hits, you take one of those wolves off, etc. And that works for all of the fantasy creatures and you know, medieval type pseudo-historical elements that you could be using in this game. All right, you've got some leaders who play a bit of an important role here. They do have some special traits, and they are in a unit. They're based in the unit, so you might have say a really beefy barbarian and a couple of a few other dudes as their lackeys or hangers on, and they make 6 strength points worth of a unit. Hey, whatever you've got, you use it, and that openness in this game is really helpful. So let's quickly look. This is the stat box. You've got your unit name. It's like, it's this type. The points value, so the cost, and you're looking generally at 24 points for a standard game. You could play with less, you could play with more, but 24 points is that standard. All units have an attack and move value. Or sorry, not a move, it's an attack and a move target number. Some units also have a shoot target number. Everyone's got a courage number, an armor value, an attack value, a defense value. If they can shoot, they also have a shoot value with a range. They've got their maximum movement written there and their strength points. Many units have some kind of special rule or another. Most do, and it could be skirmish, it could be wall of spears, it could be wild charge. And many units also have options. Now these options can either change how the unit works, but generally you are subtracting a point and making the unit loses some kind of value or ability, or you're adding points and it gives them some new ability. So there's not a lot of options, but there's enough to again, whatever models you have, whatever units you're gonna table, you can make it work within this rule set. And we've got a few different types of mounted units. We have elite riders, heavy riders, and light riders. We've got greater war beasts and lesser war beasts, and sometimes a model could work for either one. So you can make you can make it work. Like you might have a dragon as a greater war beast, or maybe some little baby dragons as your lesser war beasts. Whatever works for you. Then you've got your foot unit profiles. So you've got elite foot, heavy foot, light foot, bellicose foot, which are the wild ones, heavy missiles, light missiles, scouts, and ravenous hordes. So a lot of different options. So again, whatever you've got, you can table it. So we're going to get into the rules for Dragon Rampant, and here are some of the most important things. You need D6, and you need 12 D6, because when you are at full strength, no matter what kind of unit you are, you will be rolling 12 dice. Now, there are some rules that will drop that to 6, depending, but in general, for the most part, if you're at full strength or a little bit less, you'll be rolling 12 dice. If you are at half strength or less, you're only rolling 6 dice. And that makes it really easy. You don't have to count the number of models in the unit and then multiply. You just need to know that if you are at halfway or less, you're rolling 6 dice. But if you're more than half, you have 12 dice. Make it easy, and it's all D6s. Let's see. On your turn, you are going to attempt to activate all the units in your army until you fail an activation. So you could go through all of your units, successfully activating them all. They do all their things, and then your turn is over. However, if at any point you fail an activation roll, your turn is over. It goes to the opponent, and then they have an opportunity to activate their entire army unless they fail. Now, this is, I think, the biggest criticism of this series of games, is that many people cannot wrap their heads around the fact that your entire turn will be over. And it's just the luck of a die roll. You're rolling 2 dice and looking for, like a 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. And if you fail, your turn is over and it goes to your opponent. And a lot of people don't like that. Some people love that. And I think there's a lot of talk of like the fog of war and the heat of the battle. And, a commander can't always get their orders out to their units. And I think that totally makes sense. Now, there's very often a discussion of, do you house rule this and make it a little bit more lenient? So maybe it's not the first time you fail an activation, but maybe it's the 3rd time, or maybe it's the 2nd time. Or maybe everyone does get to try and activate, but if they fail, they just do nothing. But you do get to complete your whole turn. Now, I also play a game called Warband, and in that game, you do try to activate everybody, and anyone that fails doesn't get to go, but you do get to complete your turn. I'm fine with either way. I prefer not losing my entire turn after one failed roll. So I like I have a little house rule that I prefer that, you know, it's something like 3 fails and then it passes along. Or I guess you could even do as many fails as you've had successful activations. So that gives you a chance at least. Anyway, whatever you do, the rules as written are: you fail an activation, your turn is over, it goes to your opponent. But hey, they might fail their first activation, and it's going to go right back to you. Anything could happen, and this is war, right? So things do happen. I guess over time, statistically, you're going to lose some whole turns, and sometimes you're going to get your entire turn, and hopefully you get enough opportunities to play that it does balance out in the end. Anyway, I won't go through the entire turn, but you do get to try to rally your units, and then if you have any wild charges, they have to go. But once you have chosen a unit to activate, you will roll according to their not their attack value, but their depending what they want to do. If they want to attack, move, or shoot, you look at that number. So these greater war beasts, they want to attack, which means they want to move in and actually charge into a unit. They need to roll a 5+ on 2 dice. But if they just want to move in general, they need to roll a 6+. So, you know, moving is not as fun as attacking for these greater war beasts. So yeah. However, you might have someone like these, let's see, these are almost all the same. The elite foot, they're 5+ on either attack or move, whereas the heavy foot, they're more likely to move than they are to attack. That's just the way they are. It gets worse when you get to the missiles. They don't want to attack and they don't want to move, but they're okay shooting, but it's not their favorite thing in the world, apparently, even though that's their job. Thank goodness the light missiles are at a 6+ for shooting. Anyway, so you roll 2 dice. If you meet or beat the number listed there, you get to do what you want to do. If you're moving, all unit types have a certain distance that they can move, and then terrain does affect movement. Okay, let's look at shooting. Same idea. You want to shoot someone. You've got ranged weapons, hopefully that they're in that range. You roll to activate. If you succeed in rolling that activation, so 6+ if you're light missiles, for instance, you get to shoot. If you are at above your half of your strength points, your starting strength points, you get to roll 12 dice. You roll those dice, and anything that meets your shoot value, which will be right over here, your shoot value, and in the case of light missiles, it's 5+, but 4+ if it's a heavy missile, you are successful. So you take your number of successes, and you're going to look at the armor rating of your target. Whatever that armor value is, that's how many hits you need to actually deal some casualties. So an armor 1 target, you just need 1 hit to remove 1 strength point. So the more you roll, the better. Well, I guess that works in any case. But if they have an armor of 3, you'll need 3 successful hits in order to deal 1 point of casualty, 1 point of strength point reduction. So you know, depending on your target, the armor really matters. So choosing who you attack, whom you attack with which units of yours, it can be an important thing to decide. All right, let's see. Attacking works in a very similar way. You roll to activate. If you're successful, you charge in. Some units have a counter charge or an evade ability, so you have to roll for that. But in the end, when 2 units come together, both units are going to be rolling their dice. Now, again, 12 dice if you are above your half of your strength points, or 6 dice if you are half or below. You are going to use the armor value once again, just like in shooting, and depending on how many hits you inflict, they're going to take some casualties. After you've done that, you're going to do a little morale check, little testing of courage, and that's 2 dice, and you're gonna subtract how many hits you've taken the entire game so far. Not just what you've just taken now, but the more you've been hurt over the course of the game, the easier it is to lose your courage. You might retreat, but you will have a chance to rally later. Hopefully, when your leader is nearby, hopefully they are nearby to help you. You can be battered, and when you're battered, you can mark it in whatever way that you do. You have to try to rally. Other than rallying, you cannot activate, but if you fail your rally, you're going to keep running away. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much morale. It's quite easy, just depending on how many hits you've taken so far. I'm just going to stop here for one sec. This picture is one of my favorite pictures, and this is why I've got both a giant and more giants coming up, and halflings in my Dragon Rampant army. I love this picture, and I love them with their spears, and they are determined to hurt these giants. It doesn't look like they're going to do much damage, but you know what? It can happen, because enough hits, even rolling 6 dice, all you need are 6 hits and you can hurt anything. Anyway, you can also add fantastical rules. So in the options for the various units, it'll tell you if you can use these fantastical rules. You've got fear, flying, or burrowing. So depending on if your creature goes underground or can fly, you can add spellcaster to give some kind of spell. And here's a list of spells. Another awesome picture, I think. This little like Leek Lord here is leading his undead against these barbarians. Very cool. Yeah, lots of cool rules. Then you've got your scenarios, and there is there are 6 different scenarios here. But what's great is if you own the other rule sets, you can just mix and match and have lots of scenarios to. Sorry, my kids are quite loud. And in your different scenarios, you can add quests, which add glory, which are like victory points. And they're kind of random, but if you can make them work, why not? I haven't tried that, but I think that's a very interesting aspect of the game. Anyway, you've got your scenarios here. And in the future, I will talk about the scenarios here. And then we go to some sample warbands. So here are very thematic warbands, and they tell you, so say you've got some elves, say you've got some treemen. Well, you can count them as greater war beasts, and they're going to cost you 6 points because you're using the greater war beast profile. You might have archers, and these elves would be light missiles with a sharpshooter ability, which already has them at 6 points, but they might be invisible because of how lithe they are, or how well they can hide in the trees, maybe, I'm not sure. And it goes through all these various fantasy tropes and fantasy types, lizardkin, halflings and gnomes, creatures, you know, and it just gives you ways to play pretty much every kind of model you could have. Men of the North, Men of the West, ratkin, everybody. And then that's it. Whatever you've got, you can make it work in this game. The rules are quite simple and easy to learn. The modifiers are very basic, and that's it. This is your reference sheet. It's 1 page. That's pretty cool. And I think I do think there's a couple things that could be added onto this sheet, but generally 1 page of reference, that's pretty good. I do like the Dragon Rampant rule set. The whole series is cool, but when you're looking at fantasy, I think this is a nice way to get whatever models you have on the table. I will be talking more about Dragon Rampant in the next video, where I look at the 2 books together, but you will see a lot more Dragon Rampant in the future as I continue to paint my armies and play some games, and I'll show you how those go. So thank you for watching. Come back for more, and yeah, hope you're enjoying this little project and this mini little series on looking at the books, and next time we will look at both books and look at all these things together and see. I'm not going to tell you which one is a better or worse, but just to compare different aspects and components of each game. So thank you for watching. Have a good one. See ya.